My name's George Whitaker, 58 years old, 40 of those spent with grease under my nails and sun on my neck. Running the same auto shop my father left me on County Road 16. Whitaker Auto and Repair. 6 bays, 2 lifts, 1 Coke machine that eats quarters, and the kind of loyal customers who still pay cash and shake hands. Most folks around here know me for fixing things no one else touches. Carburetors, vintage engines, anything that still breathes gasoline instead of software. I like it that way. Machines don't lie. People do. Since my wife, Linda, passed 5 years back, it's just been me and the work. Keeps my hands busy, keeps my head quiet. My daughter Claire visits now and then. She's good-hearted, smart, married young to a fella named Travis Moore. Travis runs what he calls a business consultancy. Always has a tablet in his hand and a line like, "George, we could franchise this place. You're sitting on nostalgia gold." I just nod and keep turning wrenches. A few weeks back, he started showing up more often, bringing fancy coffee, wearing cologne that could strip paint. He'd stroll around the shop like a tourist in a museum. "Man, this is authentic," he said once, running his hand over a rusted fender. "People pay for that aesthetic now. We could brand it." Brand it. That's how Travis talks about everything. Family, business, even grief. A man who sees life as marketing potential. One Saturday, while I was finishing an oil change, he walked in smiling like a salesman with a secret. "Got something for you, George," he said, holding out a small box wrapped in silver paper. Inside was a fountain pen, heavy, expensive, engraved with WM LLC. "What's this?" I asked. "Company gift," he said. "We're streamlining your paperwork. You know, digital invoices, contracts, the works. You'll need a good pen for signing." "Signing what?" He laughed too quickly. "Nothing yet. Just modernization stuff. You'll thank me later." The pen felt wrong in my hand. Too smooth, too planned. That night I set it on Linda's old workbench beside my wrench set. The light from the hanging bulb caught the engraving again. WM LLC. More manufacturing? Whitaker and Moore? I didn't know. But the initials felt like fingerprints on my name. Mini cliffhanger. Next morning, a delivery truck pulled up. Men unloading new signage wrapped in brown paper. One of them asked, "Hey, you Mr. Moore? Where should we hang this?" I wiped my hands and said quietly, "Not yet." It was Tuesday when the letter came. Thick envelope, county seal in the corner. I almost tossed it with the junk mail until I saw the words, "Notice of Property Transfer." Inside were 3 pages. A formal statement declaring Whitaker Auto and Repair was now under new management. A stamped deed transfer, filed 2 weeks earlier. My signature, shaky, uneven, but mine. Only it wasn't. I'd signed thousands of papers over the years. Vendor orders, title slips, tax forms. My G always hooked left. This one leaned right, like someone faking confidence. I drove straight to Travis's office, or studio, as he called it. Glass walls, modern art, music too soft to care about. He looked up from his laptop with that grin he wore like armor. "George, what brings you downtown?" I dropped the papers on his desk. "You tell me." He flipped through them casually, like he was checking a grocery list. "Ah, that. Yeah, I filed the merge paperwork. You must have forgotten signing it." "I don't forget my own hand." He leaned back, smirked. "Come on, old man. We talked about this, remember? Whitaker and Moore? I just made it official. You still get to be part of it. Kind of a legacy name." "Legacy name," I repeated. "You mean window dressing." "Don't be dramatic," he said, pouring himself sparkling water. "It's business. You'll still get your share. 15% equity in TWM Innovations. That's better than running a dying garage. I stepped closer. Daddy in garage paid for your wedding, your house, that shiny watch. He shrugged. And now it's paying for the future. By forgery? His smirk flickered, but only for a breath. George, please. Who's going to believe you didn't agree? You've been signing papers for years without reading half of them. You forged my name, I said slowly. He tilted his head. I optimized your name. Silence stretched between us, cold and sharp. I could see my reflection in his desk glass, an old man, grease on his sleeves, staring at a boy who'd never lifted anything heavier than a latte. I leaned down, voice low. You didn't optimize anything, Travis. You upgraded theft. He laughed, uneasy now. You're making a scene. Scene? I said. No, son. I'm making history. I picked up the papers, folded them clean, and slipped them into my jacket. Enjoy your office while it's still yours. Outside, I stopped at the elevator. Through the glass wall, I could see him watching me. The smile gone now, replaced by calculation. When the doors closed, I whispered to myself, machines don't lie, but men like him always leave fingerprints. That Friday, Claire invited me to dinner. Dad, let's just talk it out, she'd said over the phone. Travis feels awful. It was just a misunderstanding. I almost didn't go. But Linda always believed in giving people one chance to tell the truth. So I brought a pie, the one recipe Claire still remembered from her mother. Their house looked like a showroom. Open floor plan, white walls, the smell of money and lemon polish. Claire greeted me with a soft hug. Travis was at the table already, wine glass in hand. George, he said cheerfully, glad you came. We can settle this like adults. Adults don't steal, I said, setting the pie down. He chuckled. See? That attitude, that's the problem. You still think this is about morality. It's about progress. Claire sighed. Dad, please. Travis just formalized things. You always said you wanted the shop to live on. Yeah, I said quietly. Didn't think you meant bury me with it. Travis leaned back in his chair. You're being dramatic. Look, you've been running that place like it's 1989. Paper logs, cash drawers, handwritten receipts. You needed help. I needed honesty, I said. He smiled thinly. Honesty doesn't pay bills. Claire looked between us, voice tight. Can't you two just stop? This isn't worth fighting over. I turned to her. Claire, do you know what's in those papers he filed? Do you even know who owns your mother's tools now? She hesitated. Travis said everything's still under the family trust. That trust, I said, pulling a folded copy from my jacket, now lists me as a minority partner. He made sure of that. Her face fell. Travis, is that true? He set his glass down. You're making it sound sinister. It's called restructuring. Your dad's still involved, just not in control. I met his eyes. So I'm a mascot now. He laughed. You said it, not me. I stood slowly, chair scraping tile. You might own papers, Travis, but you don't own truth. He rolled his eyes. Truth? You think truth pays rent? You're a man who refuses to change. That's why people like you fade out. Dinosaurs with ledgers. Claire winced. Travis, he raised a hand. No, let's be real. It's not the 70s anymore. The world moved on. You didn't. For a long moment, I said nothing. Then I looked him straight in the eye. Maybe, but truth doesn't go out of style. The room went dead quiet. I picked up my coat and turned to Claire. When you're ready to see what he really did, check your email. I sent you copies. Travis smirked. You won't find anyone to back you up. Won't need to, I said. The paper already speaks. As I walked out, my phone buzzed. An email notification from an old name I hadn't seen in years. Subject: Shop Records Backup. I think you'll want to see this. Sender: Calvin Reyes. The next morning, I drove to the shop. The front sign was gone. In its place, a new one gleamed under the Texas sun. TWM Garage, powered by innovation. My name, gone. Inside, my old workbench had been pushed into a corner like a relic in a museum. A kid I didn't know was sanding a fender that still had my initials scratched underneath the paint. Hey, I said quietly. Careful with that. That's original steel. He looked up, blank. You the old guy they said used to own this place? Used to, I said. He nodded politely. They said you got confused about the papers. Happens. Happens, I repeated, voice low. I left before my hands did something I'd regret. At home, my phone buzzed with a voicemail from my sister. George, honey, are you okay? Travis said you've been forgetting things lately. Maybe get checked out? Then another, from a customer I'd known 20 years. Heard you retired, buddy. Shame it ended messy. Travis said you're not yourself these days. Each message felt like a nail tapping the same coffin. My reputation. That night, Calvin showed up. Same kid who started with me fresh out of trade school, now married, clean cut, holding a small hard drive. Boss, he said, I found this when I was clearing my locker. It's your accounting backups. 5 years worth. Vendor payments, tool receipts, everything. Travis doesn't know it exists. He set it on the table like it was gold. I plugged it in. The old computer whirred to life. Fan rattling like an engine refusing to die. Every invoice, every check, every cent Linda and I ever poured into that shop blinked on the screen. My handwriting scanned in neat rows, black ink, perfect alignment. I felt something shift, not anger, not relief, just focus. Calvin, I said slowly, you still have your company email? He nodded. Good. I need you to forward one of those invoices to yourself. Make it look casual. Paper trails everything. He frowned. You gonna sue him? I shook my head. Not yet. First, I'm gonna let him keep digging. People like Travis don't stop lying until they think they've won. Calvin leaned back. He's been running his mouth, you know. Told the parts suppliers you've got dementia. That's why they all switched contracts to him. Dementia, I repeated, almost laughing. Guess I'll have to prove how sharp I really am. I opened Linda's old ledger, the one she kept for tax season. Her handwriting curved across the inside cover. Truth is like oil. You can't bury it forever. I stared at that line, pen tapping the table. Then I wrote beneath it, in clean block letters, Phase 1, record. Phase 2, reveal. Calvin stood up to leave but stopped at the door. Boss, he said quietly. You sure you're ready for this fight? I looked at him steady. Son, I've been fixing things my whole life. This time I'm just fixing my name. Sunday dinner used to be sacred. Linda made it that way. Pot roast, mashed potatoes, the smell of garlic and laughter. Even after she passed, I tried to keep the ritual alive for Claire's sake. That night, I was the only one who showed up. The roast was cooling on the counter when my phone buzzed, Claire's name flashing on the screen. I answered, trying to sound casual. You two on the way? Her voice was tight, rehearsed. Dad, we're not coming tonight. I stared at the table. Trouble with the car? No, she said quickly. Travis just thinks maybe it's best to give everyone space for a while. Space, I repeated. From your father? There was silence. Then, softly, he showed me the paperwork, Dad. It's all signed. The notary confirmed it. Maybe you just don't remember. My throat went dry. Claire, you've known my handwriting since you were 6. You know what your mother's G looked like. You think I'd forget that? Dad, please don't make this harder. Travis is just trying to help. You've been acting paranoid lately. Paranoid. That word hit harder than any punch I'd ever taken. I see, I said quietly. You two enjoy dinner. Dad. But I'd already ended the call. The roast sat untouched. The clock ticked loud in the empty kitchen. I poured myself a cup of black coffee instead of whiskey. I wanted to stay clear. Then I pulled out Linda's old photo, the one of her standing outside the shop in overalls, hands on her hips, grinning under the sign that said, Whitaker Auto and Repair, since 1979. I held the photo in both hands and whispered, They took what you built, Lynn, but I'm not letting them take my name. Outside, a train horn wailed across the valley, long, lonely, fading. I set the photo beside my ledger and wrote a single line under Phase 2, Reveal. Make them prove their lie in public. Then I closed the book and sat in silence until the coffee went cold. The next morning, a notification pinged on my phone from the county website. Audit notice, business filing inconsistencies, Whitaker Auto and Repair. At the bottom, filed by anonymous tip. I smiled faintly. Calvin had done it. The county office smelled like paper and old air conditioning, the kind of place where truth doesn't move fast, but it never dies. The clerk, a woman with half-moon glasses, looked up when I handed her the letter. Need to review a transfer record, I said. Whitaker Auto and Repair, filed under TWM Innovations. She typed for a moment, the clack of her keyboard loud in the stillness. Here it is, she said. Filed March 18th, signed by George Whitaker. I took a slow breath. Can you print me a copy? She did, 3 pages sliding out of the printer, warm with fresh ink. I studied every line. The notary's name caught my eye. Leonard Brooks. I frowned. You know this notary? She nodded. Retired last year. Lived out near the county line. Why? Because he notarized my dead wife, I said. Her hands froze on the desk. Back in my truck, I stared at the papers again. The signature, the date, the notary stamp. Clean, precise, too clean. Linda used to balance our taxes every spring, said, If the numbers are perfect, someone's lying. Now her words rang in my head. I drove home with the window down, letting the wind keep me awake. At my kitchen table, I spread every piece of paper I had. Invoices, tax returns, receipts, even old postcards with Linda's handwriting. The forgery stood out like a false note in a familiar song. I pulled up my laptop and searched County Fraud Reporting Process. The words looked heavy on the screen, but not impossible. Then I opened a new folder. Case_workshop_truth. Inside it, I made subfolders. Proof, financial, proof, timeline, proof, signatures, witness statements. Piece by piece, I started filling them. Hours passed. The sun set, and the hum of the refrigerator was the only sound left. But for the first time in weeks, my heart wasn't racing. It was calculating. At 10:17 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from Calvin. Travis is throwing a launch event this Friday. He's calling it Legacy Rebuilt. You might want to see it. Legacy Rebuilt. He was using my shop, my name, and my wife's memory as his marketing pitch. I stared at the message, then at the forged signature glowing under my desk lamp. All right, Travis, I whispered. You wanted legacy. Let's rebuild it. Before shutting the light, I sent one email, Subject line simple and sharp. To Leonard Brooks. Re. Whitaker Notarization Inquiry. Body. Mr. Brooks, I believe your stamp was used in a forgery. I'd like to meet. By Wednesday morning, the pieces were starting to line up. I'd spent the night marking dates on my kitchen wall calendar. Blue ink for evidence, red for lies. The reds outnumbered the blues, but not for long. Calvin came by before sunrise, still smelling like motor oil and coffee. He dropped a folder on the table. Every supplier invoice under your name for the last 10 years. All of them show you as sole proprietor, not a partner. Good, I said, flipping through the stack. We're going to turn these into anchors. One for every lie he told. He grinned. What's next? I tapped my pen against the ledger. 3 steps. Step 1. Verify the notary. I emailed Leonard Brooks, I said. He notarized the transfer. If he admits Linda wasn't present or alive, that's felony fraud. His testimony's the fuse. Step 2. Restore the originals. Calvin frowned. You mean the old county filings? Yeah. The paper copies Linda and I signed back in '79. The originals have my pen pressure. No machine can fake that. We get those scanned and time-stamped by a county officer. Proof the deed's always been ours. Step 3. Public reveal. Calvin raised an eyebrow. You mean at his launch? I nodded. He's streaming it online, right? Live broadcast. Perfect stage. Let him toast his stolen glory while the truth uploads in real time. He chuckled. You really thought this through? I smiled faintly. Men like Travis think they're clever because they move fast. I fix engines. I know how to wait for pressure to build. He poured us both coffee. So how do we make it public without tipping him off? I'll need a clean copy of the forged file, I said. You still got friends in the clerk's office? One, he said. Marcy owes me a favor. I'll get it. I handed him a USB drive. And this goes to Ray Morales, old friend from my insurance days. He still knows a few journalists who like dirty stories with receipts. Calvin hesitated. Boss, you're not scared? Of what? I said. Losing something they already stole? He looked at the papers spread across the table. Decades of work, sweat, and trust turned into proof. Guess not. Before he left, I wrote one more line in the ledger beneath Phase 2, Reveal, Phase 3, Record. Make him confess where the cameras can't lie. That afternoon, my phone buzzed. Unknown number, voicemail, a man's voice, low and careful. Mr. Whitaker, this is Leonard Brooks. I got your email. We should talk. What your son-in-law did. It's worse than you think. Leonard Brooks lived 20 miles outside town, in a house that looked like it had grown there before the pavement did. Tin roof, peeling porch paint, mailbox leaning with age. When I pulled up, he was already waiting on the steps, thermos in one hand, manila folder in the other. Mr. Whitaker, he said, voice rough but polite. Been a while since anyone cared about paper this old. I care, I said. Paper doesn't lie. He nodded slowly. That's what I used to tell my clients. We sat at a creaky picnic table in his yard. He opened the folder and slid a few sheets toward me. Here's the notarized authorization your son-in-law filed. I kept a copy for my own records. The top page looked familiar. My name, Linda's forged signature, the clean notary seal stamped beside it. But below it, stapled to the back, was a lined index card, Leonard's handwriting. Young man requested notarization without signer present. Claims wife is too ill to attend. Verification deferred. Felt uneasy. He took a sip from his thermos. I made that note the same day. Never got the follow-up call, though. Figured it was one of those gray area jobs people like to push. I studied the note. the indentation of his pen. The ink had bled slightly, proving age. Real, untampered. "Can I keep this?" I asked. He hesitated. "I shouldn't, but after what I've heard, you'd better." He slipped the card and the notarized copy into a clear plastic sleeve. "Physical proof #1. Notary's record and annotation. Filed March 18th, 2022. Then he leaned closer, voice lower. "There's more. That kid, Travis, he asked me a strange question before leaving. Wanted to know if there was a way to notarize digitally without a signer present. I told him no. He smiled and said, 'There will be.'" My stomach tightened. Leonard handed me a small flash drive. "That's my digital log from the same day. Includes timestamps and the security footage from my office camera. The feed's grainy, but you'll hear him say your wife's name out loud before signing." I stared at the drive. Small, silver, heavy with weight. "That's enough to sink him," I said quietly. Leonard nodded. "Then make sure it does. Men like him think paper's just ink. They forget every signature is a footprint." He stood, shook my hand, and said one last thing before I left. "Don't let him rewrite your story, Mr. Whitaker. You're still holding the pen." Back in my truck, I called Calvin. "It's done," I said. He paused. "So what now, boss?" I looked at the drive in my palm. "Now," I said, "we let him hang himself with his own launch party." The night of the launch came colder than usual. Downtown, the old warehouse that used to hold my shop was now lit up like a Vegas showroom. Spotlights raked the sky. Banners read, "Legacy Rebuilt, TWM Innovations Grand Opening." Funny, I built that legacy with grease and busted knuckles. He rebuilt it with stolen ink. Calvin met me at the corner, cap pulled low. "You sure about this?" he asked. I patted the inside pocket of my jacket. "Positive." Inside, the place was unrecognizable. White walls, chrome counters, fake smiles. Guests milled around with champagne, murmuring about scaling and branding. And right in the center, under a hanging LED sign, was Travis. Perfect hair, perfect grin, microphone in hand. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, voice booming through speakers, "tonight we honor a name that built this town's work ethic, Whitaker Auto, and now we bring that spirit into the future." Applause. Cameras flashed. He gestured toward a glossy new logo, TWM Garage, built on tradition. My name shrunk into 3 cold letters. "Where's the old man?" someone asked jokingly. Travis laughed. "Retired. Probably polishing carburetors somewhere." Laughter followed. That's when I walked in. The laughter thinned. A few heads turned. Travis's smile froze mid-sentence. "Evening," I said. My voice carried without a mic. "He's not polishing carburetors. He's here." Claire's eyes widened from the front row. "Dad, what are you doing?" I stepped forward, slow and steady, the sound of my boots echoing off the tile. "Just came to see how my name's holding up." Travis tried to recover, laugh forced. "George, didn't expect you tonight. Everyone, this is the man who inspired it all." He motioned for applause. Only a few clapped. The rest were waiting, sensing something electric in the air. I nodded toward the projector screen behind him. "Mind if I show a short clip? Something for your legacy theme?" He hesitated. Sure?" Calvin slipped around back, laptop ready. The lights dimmed. The video started grainy, timestamp glowing faintly in the corner. Leonard's voice from the speaker. "Go ahead and read the name clearly for the record." Then Travis's own voice, clear, confident. "Marjorie L. Denton. She trusts me. Always has." The crowd went silent. Travis froze, jaw tightening. "Cut that! Cut the feed!" But Calvan was faster. He looped the clip, zooming on the date. March 18th, 2022. The crowd gasped. One reporter whispered, "Wasn't his mother-in-law dead by then?" Claire's face went pale. "Travis," she said, trembling. "What did you do?" He stammered. It's fake. Someone edited." I stepped forward, pulling the clear sleeve from my jacket and holding it up under the stage lights. "The original notarized document," I said, voice steady, "filed the same day. Signed by a man who notarized my wife's ghost." Cameras flashed. The crowd murmured. Travis backed up, sweat glistening under his collar. "You're trying to ruin me." "No," I said softly. "You did that yourself. I'm just playing back the tape." Security tried to approach, but the reporters were faster. Questions flying, cameras rolling. Claire stepped away from him, tears glinting. "Mom trusted you," she whispered, "and you used her name." Travis dropped the mic, pushing through the crowd. Outside, I could see police lights bouncing off the windows, blue and white flashing like redemption. I turned to Calvin. "Let them take him in. I'm done talking. From here on, the paper speaks." By Monday morning, my mailbox was full, not with sympathy but subpoenas. Whitaker versus Whitaker. Civil defamation and fraud. Filed by Travis Whitaker. He'd flipped the narrative overnight. The headlines read, "Elderly mechanic accused of fabricating video to frame son-in-law." He was playing the victim now, the innovator bullied by a bitter old man. I sat at the kitchen table staring at the stack of papers. Calvin paced. "You kidding me? He's suing you? After that?" "Classic move," I muttered. "A liar's last defense. Bury the truth in more paperwork." My phone rang. Unknown number. "George Whitaker?" "Yeah. This is Ray Morales. Remember me from State Mutual back when you handled the shop insurance?" "Ray?" I blinked. "It's been years. I saw the news. I might have something you'll need." 2 hours later, he was at my door. Heavier, grayer, but same sharp eyes. He dropped a folder on the table like a cop dropping a warrant. "Back in 2021, your policy listed you as sole insured and business owner. When Travis refiled after your wife's death, he used a digital signature to add himself. I kept the logs." "Logs?" I asked. "Metadata timestamps. He submitted his version 3 hours after you reported your wife's passing." Calvan whistled. "So he forged the insurance, too?" Ray nodded. "That's your smoking gun." But Ray wasn't done. I also called someone I trust, attorney Layla Pierce. She's handled estate fraud cases before. If you want to take this public, she's the one. That afternoon, Layla arrived. Crisp navy suit, no nonsense. She scanned the notarized file, the video, Ray's logs, and Leonard's note, her expression never changing. When she finished, she looked at me. "Mr. Whitaker," she said, "you don't need to defend yourself. You need to counterstrike." "How?" She laid out 3 folders: forgery, insurance, and perjury. "Each one ties back to your son-in-law's filings. We're filing criminal fraud and defamation counterclaims within 48 hours. I'll subpoena the county's video backup and the notary's retirement records. Once we prove the stamp was misused, he's done." Calvan grinned. "That's what I'm talking about." Layla stood, gathering her notes. "One more thing. Do not engage him. He'll try to bait you into angry messages. Keep every text, every voicemail. The courtroom loves calm men." After she left, Ray lit a cigarette on the porch. Hadn't seen him smoke in 20 years. "You sure you're up for a fight this big, George?" I looked out at the horizon where Linda used to hang laundry, sunlight flickering through the pecan trees. He started this thinking I'd break. He forgot I build things that last. That night, my phone buzzed again. A new voicemail from Travis. "You think this is over, old man? I've got friends at City Hall. Let's see how far your lies get when the county records disappear." I replayed it twice, then forwarded it straight to Layla. The message subject: Physical proof #2, threat and admission. The courthouse smelled of dust and air conditioning, same as every place built for truth but too tired to chase it. Layla stood beside me, calm as stone. Across the aisle, Travis straightened his cufflinks, trying to look confident. Claire sat behind him, pale, hands folded in her lap. The judge adjusted his glasses. "Counselor Pierce, proceed." Layla clicked her pen once. "Your Honor, the plaintiff claims my client fabricated evidence to damage his reputation. But the timestamp, metadata, and digital certificate logs from the county servers tell a different story." She motioned to the clerk. The lights dimmed slightly as a monitor flickered on. On screen appeared a split display. Left, the original 1979 deed, scanned from county archives. Right, the 2022 updated version, submitted under Travis Whitaker's digital account. Layla pointed to the timestamp. "Note the submission time, March 18, 2022, 8:42 p.m., 3 hours after Mrs. Whitaker's death certificate was filed. The digital signature originated from a location pinged at Travis Whitaker's residence." The courtroom murmured. Travis's jaw flexed. Layla clicked again. "Now let's review the plaintiff's own voicemail to my client, entered as Exhibit E." Speakers crackled, then filled the courtroom with his voice. "You think this is over, old man? I've got friends at City Hall. Let's see how far your lies get when the county records disappear." Layla folded her arms. "Physical proof #2, Your Honor. An admission of interference and intent to alter evidence. Cross-referenced with the county IT audit logs." The judge's eyes sharpened. "Mr. Whitaker, would you like to respond?" Travis stood, fumbling. That recording is out of context. He provoked me. He's obsessed." Layla smiled faintly. "Obsession doesn't produce government audit logs, Your Honor." She turned to the witness bench. "Your Honor, we also call Leonard Brooks, retired notary, to confirm that Mrs. Whitaker was deceased prior to any notarized authorization." Leonard, in his Sunday suit, took the stand. His voice wavered but held steady. "She'd been gone 3 weeks, sir. I made a note that the man, this one here, asked to notarize her name anyway. I refused to finalize, but he must have copied my seal." Travis went white. Claire buried her face in her hands. The judge leaned back, sighing. "That's forgery, Mr. Whitaker, not business restructuring." Layla gathered her files. "Your Honor, we move to dismiss the plaintiff's civil case and open criminal referral under Penal Code 32.21, forgery, use of falsified instrument, and defamation." "Granted," the judge said, gavel striking once. The sound echoed through the room like justice snapping a chain. Travis tried to lunge forward, but deputies restrained him. "You set me up!" he screamed. I stood, buttoning my coat. "No, Travis. You set yourself up the moment you signed her name." Claire looked up, eyes rimmed red. "Dad, I didn't know." "I know," I said quietly. "Now you do." As deputies led Travis away, Layla leaned toward me. "This doesn't just clear your name, Mr. Whitaker," she said. "It reclaims your ownership. By next week, that shop is legally yours again." I nodded, but my voice was low. "Good. Now I can finally close it the right way." 1 week later, the sheriff's cruiser idled outside the garage as reporters crowded the sidewalk. The sign TWM Innovations had already been stripped from the building, its shiny letters piled in a heap by the dumpster. Layla stood beside me, clipboard in hand. "It's officially yours again, Mr. Whitaker," she said. "You can reopen whenever you want." I nodded. "Not reopening." She raised an eyebrow. "Closing it for good?" "Closing it right." I stepped inside. The place still smelled like oil and polish, the kind of scent that clung to your hands no matter how many times you washed. The sunlight cut across the concrete floor, landing on the old bench where Linda used to bring me lemonade in summers. Claire waited there, quiet, eyes swollen but clear. She'd come alone this time. No cameras, no husband, just her. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said softly, "but I'm sorry. I should have known." I nodded slowly. "You believed someone who promised comfort. That's not sin, Claire. That's trust. He broke it, not you." She wiped a tear. "What'll you do now?" I looked around, at the rusted bolts, the old photos still hanging crooked on the wall. "Finish what your mother started," I said. "She built this place for family, not profit. So today, I'm taking it back to her name." From my coat, I pulled a brass plaque, one Linda had made years ago but never hung. The engraving read, "Whitaker and Daughter, Honest Work, Honest Hands." I mounted it above the doorway with 2 clean nails. Then I turned the key in the master switch. The lights flickered once, then died, a clean, final silence. Reporters pressed against the glass outside, shouting questions. "Mr. Whitaker, how does it feel to win? Any plans for the business?" I opened the door, met their lenses head on. "It's not about winning," I said. "It's about ending a lie. You can rebuild walls, but reputation—" I tapped my chest. "That's earned every day, one truth at a time." Layla smiled faintly. "You sure you don't want to give them a headline?" I did. I turned to the cameras, voice firm but calm. "I'm not rebuilding a shop. I'm rebuilding my peace." Then I locked the door for the last time. Claire slipped her arm through mine as we walked toward the truck. "What'll you do with the settlement money?" she asked. I smiled. "Start something small. Maybe a scholarship fund for mechanics who still believe in grease. Not greed." We passed the dumpster where the metal letters lay scattered. I picked one up, a bent W, and tucked it into my jacket pocket. When the wind picked up, it rattled the chain-link fence like applause from ghosts. A month later, I sat on the porch with Ray and Calvin, coffee steaming in the cold morning air. The sun rose over the pecan trees, the same light that used to glint off the shop windows. Calvin raised his mug. "To truth, boss." I nodded. "To truth, and the people who don't run from it." The wind shifted, carrying the scent of oil and sawdust, and for the first time in years, it didn't ache. I leaned back, eyes half closed, and whispered to the air, "We fixed it, Lynn. Every last bolt." If you've listened this far, thank you. Tell me in the comments, what would you have done in my place? And don't forget to subscribe to Revenge Stories Men U55 America, because stories like mine deserve to be heard.